All right, welcome everyone back to the All Nations Food and Arts Festival. Today, we're so blessed to have Yoknyam Dabale, who's originally from rural northern Nigeria. She currently is a PhD candidate in Fuller School of Intercultural Studies, and she's also a scholar and activist who has over 18 years of advocacy work among marginalized people, especially Black and Brown. So I just want to turn it over to her really quickly, give a quick hello, and tell us a little bit about the dish that you're going to be cooking for us today.
So hello, everybody. Good to be here. Today I'm cooking okra and fufu, or we call it in my language in Yoknyam. So it's a popular West African dish.
All right, thanks so much. We're ready for the video.
Hello everyone, so today we're going to make okra and song. So this is the okra part of it, the okra soup. And so I already washed my hands, I cover my hair because we don't want our hair to smell like food. And also we don't want hair in our food. And it's a tradition actually that we do in my village. We cover our hair before we cook. And so I'm going to show you all the ingredients that we need. And then I will do the cooking. So these are the things that we have. We have onions. I cut them to these sizes. And then we have palm oil, is popular in West Africa. We cook with that. We have this seasoning, oregano. And this is the seasoning that we're going to use. And we have salt. And we have jerk seasoning, Jamaican style. So right here. And this is garlic powder, and this is onion powder, and then we have beredam bunyan. So this is a substitute for Maggi. Usually people use Maggi, but this is better substitute that is healthier. So I use this more. And then we have peanut butter or granite, as we call it, or geta, which said in Hausa. And I'm going to use that, and this has no sugar, it's natural. And then we have steamed shrimp, and then we have okra. I bought it fresh, but you can also use the ones they have pre-cut. And by the way, fun fact, okra is an African vegetable, and even the word okra is African. Some scholars say that it comes from the Akan people of Ghana, which is in West Africa. And this okra soup, by the way, it's a popular dish in rural communities. And we eat this in my village in Pasadena, rural Nigeria. So I'm going to cook it now, and it's going to be delicious. So I just turned on the stove, and I'm going to put it actually to medium, the flame. Then I'm going to put the oil here. Oil. And then now I'm going to get the heat a little higher, and then add this onion. And the reason why is I already steamed the shrimp, so I'm just gonna add it. Again, my hands are washed. I'm gonna turn down. And then I'll let it cook for a few minutes. Actually, turn it. So now I'm going to add, jerk seasoning, Jamaican style. You can put any seasoning you like, actually. So there's no. The most important thing is you make sure you know what you put first, and then we have this is garlic powder. And then this oregano. And then this is onion powder. We're supposed to open this. Onion powder. I like to put it a little liberally. And then a little salt. Okay? Then I'll let it cook for 3 minutes, and then I'll add the other ingredients. So I forgot to add the butter, the bunya, but you add, you add that, just a small teaspoon of that, and just let it, cook for 3 minutes. Okay, so now I'm going to stir it. The most important thing is you put all the ingredients together, and then the first section of the ingredients, the first ones that I mentioned, together, and then leave it for 3 minutes. Stir it like this. As you can see, it's beautiful. Palm oil. See? And then, now I'm going to add a spoonful, wooden spoon, like big one, of peanut butter. Okay. Just put the peanut butter, and what I'll just do this. And then stir it a little bit. So the instruction that I gave you, if you follow that step by step, you get, the outcome. And then we're just gonna put this okra. You can see it's quite a lot of it. It's gonna go down. It will decrease. That's what I mean by going down. Decrease. This is one big bag of okra. Then I'm gonna add this water, 3 cups, because okra already has water. So I'm gonna stir it, and then I'll let it cook. Stir it, and then I'll let it cook. So you can see it's a beauty. It's gonna be yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay. Okay, so 47 minutes later, you can leave it actually up to 50 minutes, but by 47 minutes it will be cooked. So all the ingredients we put, this is the final result. I can't wait. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Okay, so now the last part is called song in my language, which is yoti. But it's also popular known as fufu. And I boil the water in here. As you can see, the water is boiled on high. Now I turn it on low, medium. And then I put some of the masa flour. As you can see, can you see it? There it is. They use it, actually, Mexicans use it for tacos. And so this is what we use it to make the song. Or fufu, and then I mix it. I put some water, cold water, in this bowl, and then I put some of the flour, and then I'm gonna pour it here in the hot water. I'm going to let it cook for a few minutes. I already have the instruction, on the recipe. So if you follow the recipe, you'll be good to go. So I'll let it cook. So I let it cook for 5 minutes. So as you can see, it looks different. It's like porridge really, but it's very watery. So now I'm going to add the flour, the fufu flour in here. And I'm going to stir with this stick. You have to use a special stick you can get at any African store. Oops. And remember, the flame is on medium. So I'm still stirring it. As you can see, it's still a little, it's not as thick. So what we do is we add more of the masa flour. So the goal here is to get it to be thick. So it's gonna be like a very thick mashed potato. And then remember, you have to keep stirring it. And I'll do that. See, it's a good workout too. Join it. Then I'm gonna add a little bit more masa flour. Nice. Stirring. And I'm just gonna keep doing this until everything is blend, and then I'll cover it and let it cook on low for 8 minutes. And then it will be ready to be eaten. Now 8 minutes later, this is it. Okay. It's done. It's cooked. Alright. So now I'll put some on the plate ready to be. You turn it off, of course. So this is, you scoop it with the stick. And that's how it goes. In the village, actually, we have a special spoon for it. There we go, you see, that's it. And then you put on the side. You put as much as you like, you know, the okra. That's the shrimp, as you can see. Looks yummy. See? This is it, okra and song.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It looks so good. I wonder, since we can't actually taste it, I wonder if you could share with us a little bit about what kind of flavors or we might taste if we were to actually be able to take a bite.
Yeah, thanks. So the fufu or the song, it tastes it's pretty plain actually. So it will be tasteless to someone if the other part of it is not there, meaning that okra part. So it will be bland. Yeah. But then for the okra, that's where it happens, right? Because that's where you put all the ingredients there so that when they come together, and it's a great experience. So the okra tastes like, because I have palm oil there. So the strongest taste would be, I'm not sure what to, when you make soup, let's say maybe you make broth, American soup, that is, the watery soup.
Yes.
If you put a little more salt, the taste of it, that is what this whole would taste like. I think that's, maybe this is not very clear, but that's what I'm just thinking what it would taste like. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I could kind of picture what that might taste like. Yeah. And can you tell us a little bit about why you chose this particular dish? Is it like very significant in your culture? Or just tell us a little bit about why you chose to cook this.
Yeah, it's a popular dish. It's a popular dish in my community. And I also on TikTok, pardon me. On TikTok, sorry about this.
No problem.
On TikTok, so it recently became very popular on TikTok. Everybody wants to try it. So that's one reason. But the other reason, actually, the main reason is because I wanted to share local dish. So I have this part of my mission is to share rural life, because there's usually this negative view about rural people, or negative, or the rural people are not bringing something to the table, but there's so much that they can bring. And this is one of them. And this food is actually healthy for you because it doesn't have a lot of processed ingredients in there. And I grew up eating it, and it's very healthy. In fact, there has been a research about years ago by American researchers. They researched and they fed African Americans. So they put a group of African Americans off of American food, fast food and all that. And then they fed them African food. And the result was incredible. They were healthier during that period that they ate African food. So I'm not suggesting that all African foods are great for you, but this is one of them. This is one of the ones that is healthier for you. In fact, sometimes when I cook it, I don't put a lot of ingredients in it. I just make it just maybe just a little oiled and eat it that way.
Yeah, well, it definitely looks very healthy. Has a lot of really healthy ingredients in it for sure.
Yeah. And I treat my food as medicine, really. So I don't, yeah. And I hardly get sick. So I think something's working.
Definitely. Yeah. Maybe we all definitely need to take down that recipe and make sure that we learn how to cook it so we can all be healthy. Um, is this cooked? This dish, is it cooked just kind of any time, or is it something that's cooked for special occasions, or is there any version of it that might be cooked for a special occasion?
No, you cook it anytime. Anytime you have okra, because it's also seasonal. Even though in a rural community, women process their food, they dry the okra. But when you run out, then you may not be able to cook okra soup, on the regular. But during rainy season, when it's everywhere, then you cook it more. So you can cook it anytime. Yeah, but what makes it maybe for an event, what will make it special is the meat. So
Right.
maybe beef, so maybe beef, if you have beef, you put that in there. Beef meat is many Africans eat. Most Africans eat a lot of meat. So yeah, the meat will make it special.
Yeah. Is there a more common type of meat that's included, or is it just kind of a preference?
I would say mostly, so it depends also from what region, but you see, some will mix it. We mix the meat. We mix maybe mutton, which is sheep meat, and then goat, and then cow or beef, and fish. They'll mix all of them together in one. Yeah. And then some of the special ones, but then you also have to it depends where you live. If you live around water, you eat more fish too, more.
Sure.
But if you live in in the city where there's no body of water, usually they eat beef. Yeah, they use beef.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that this is a soup, and usually in the United States, a soup is more of a watery dish. So, but this looks like it has a little bit thicker consistency to it. I wonder if you could share a little bit about that.
Yes. So this soup thing, yes, you're right. So it's not watery. And my theory is that we call it soup as a way, because of course, English, right, is not the local language. So soup is used to just maybe help non-locals be familiar with this dish, but it's not really what it is necessarily describing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of just a language. I'm just having a theory about this. I actually contemplated about this. I need to ask the elders about why soup, but I think that it has a lot to do with our encounter with non-Africans. So we're just trying to simplify terms.
Definitely. And then kind of what's if you were to cook this back in Nigeria, where would you cook it? I know we had talked earlier about kind of cooking inside versus outside. So if you could share a little bit about that.
Yes. So if I were in Nigeria, I'll cook this outside. This is not to suggest that Africans do not have kitchens, indoors kitchen. But in my context, we have our kitchen extended to the house. So it's a little outside, even though it's still connected to the house. Part of it has to do with the aroma of the food, because the local condiments are pretty potent. So the aroma, for example, one of the ingredients I would have put in this okra soup, it would have been local condiments that we make, fermented. So it has a very strong aroma. So we'll cook it from outside. And the experience and the cooking process actually takes hours because we put a lot of ingredients. And also, not only that, we also process our food. So I may have to go, maybe go to the farm, get if you have a farm, get the okra and then cut it, because I also had to cut it. It took some time to cut it, to prepare the meat. So if you're going to make fish, put fish in there, you have to clean the fish and remove the bones. If you have little kids, you don't want anybody choking. So that would take time, removing all the tiny bones. And if you don't have stove or gas burner. You use firewood, so you have to go get the firewood, set it up. So it's a whole experience. So with respect to peanut, the peanut itself, even peanuts, some women will mass produce their peanut, meaning that they process their own peanut ahead of time. But if you forgot, let's say, oh, I want to make okra with peanuts, and you don't have it, you have to process it yourself. So what I grew up actually processing peanut. I can process granite, the nuts, into peanut butter. So it's a long process. It would take me about an hour to do that. So cooking African food, it takes a long time to cook it from scratch. And we usually cook from scratch every day. So it could be overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah, that is amazing. I wonder if you could share too, we're kind of talking about it, but as you were growing up, you mentioned that you grew everything and used all of your grown ingredients to cook all your meals. So I wonder if you could share a little bit about kind of growing up, what that was like, and even a little bit about kind of how you learned to cook, where'd your love for cooking come from, and those sorts of things.
Yeah. So I learned to cook by watching, by being sent. So by my mother and everybody else, actually. I grew up in a big family. I come from 11, there's 11 siblings. And and everybody could cook, boys and girls. You have to know how to cook. But I also learned from my mother. So, to send me, go get this, go get salt, go get this. So there was never a moment really that my mother or any of my older siblings say, look, this is what you do. I learned by watching and by being sent. Go get this, go get that, go do this, go get the chicken. Let's slaughter the chicken. So that's the other thing, right? So I grew up also as we grew everything. The only thing we bought in our house really was salt. We can make our oil, so we made oil also out of peanut butter. So when I saw the other day, I saw organic peanut butter oil. It's like, we used to make this. So we make that, and also we slaughter our meat. We grew, we had cows. We had almost everything under the sun on our farm. So I can slaughter, for example, chicken and clean it and cut it into little pieces and make everything. And I'm not sure what else you asked me.
Just where did your love of cooking come from?
Oh yeah. So yeah, just growing up, I enjoy cooking. I enjoy a lot of things actually. I enjoy doing a lot of things. I'm very athletic. I love to cook. I love to dance. So yes. So my love of cooking is pretty much growing up and people cooking and also being hungry, because sometimes there will be food in the house, but some sibling is just gonna go and eat everything, and you're hungry, so you just want to cook something, so you go and cook it yourself. Yeah. But I also love food because I see food. In fact, that's how we were raised, actually, in my context, at least, that food is medicine. So when you eat food, so because of that, and the older I got, and now that I'm also here by myself in the diaspora, the food I eat, I don't usually eat a lot of processed stuff because I know food. I have intimate relationship with food growing up. So I just don't eat anything. So I cook 99% of the food I eat in my house. I cook it.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. The least amount of processed food we can eat, the better it is for sure.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about kind of the importance of food and just the importance of the table in your culture, and kind of how food tends to bring people together, and talk about the impact of that. That would be great.
Yeah. So food is very important because part of it, as I mentioned, that in my community, in the rural community that I come from, we grow our food. It's hard work. It's a lot of work. It may sound as if I'm making it easy, actually, but it's a lot of work. As a little girl, there are times where I just hate it because I don't spend a lot of time with my parents. They're always doing something. They are farmers, but also they are in the missions, both of my parents. So I hardly have time for, with them. There always also other people in the community. They're also, people are always busy. Rural people, they're hardworking. If it's supposed people are to be rich because of hard work, would be rural people. They work very hard, especially farmers. So the time that you come to the table. We're now speaking in general table because there's not nothing like, in many families, there's not like a table where you just sit out, but dinner time or food time is very special because it means a lot, a couple of things. One is you resting. Now you're finally going to eat. And also it's a time, sometimes it's also quiet time because not sometimes, many times you're supposed to not be talking when you're eating. So it's silent. Maybe the only time that you hear someone talking, maybe the food doesn't taste good. That's the only time. Yeah, maybe complaints, But it's a time, it's a quiet time, it's a special time to, to have a moment. Relaxation is also a time you're thankful for this food that you've worked so hard for, and now you're eating it. And so that's, I think, part of the reason why we put so much energy in even making it taste very delicious. Because we work so hard, and
yeah.
Oh,
well, thank you so much for sharing that. And then I wanted to open up to anyone else that had questions. We do have a few people watching, but I don't see any questions so far. But if you do have any questions, feel free to jump in there, add it in the chat feature on YouTube Live or on Zoom. And yeah, is there anything else that you would like to say before we close?
Well, regarding about okra. So the history of okra.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you see, okra, I learned about this actually when I came to the United States about the word okra, because I did not know. So the more I do research here in the United States, learn about African-American culture, and the connection with Africa. So I learned that okra, so enslaved Africans were responsible for this. So the word okra is actually an African word that was brought in in the New World, and now it's in the English language. And I thought that was very special. There are other foods too that I've learned over the years. So this is one thing also people could learn, right? That
definitely, I had no idea that okra was an African word, so that was really interesting to learn for sure.
Yeah.
And then we'd also talked earlier about the flour that's used and or the fufu, and how fufu is kind of a dish that is common in a lot of different African countries, but how it kind of differs from country to country. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So fufu is actually being in the diaspora is being used as a generic term for that mushy thing that we make. But it is popular all over the continent. It's named different names, for example, in Kenya, they call it ugali, but while in my village, you call it son, but I use the word fufu because we use it nowadays. Africans in the diaspora use it as a generic term. Part of it is to not complicate things, but when I go back to Nigeria, I wouldn't use the word fufu if I'm speaking specifically to people in my community, because it's different. It's different product too. You use, for example, for fufu in my context, you use plantain flour. That's fufu. But and then also even the fufu, the consistency is very different in different parts of Africa. Even though it's popular. It's popular, but some is very, very hard. Others is very soft. Others is just medium. For example, the ones we make is medium. It's not watery. It's not hard. It's just in the middle. And then even the flour. So the one I use for this cooking, it's usually within the so that's the one that would taste close to what we eat back home. So that's why I use it. But it's Mexicans use it for tamale, but I use it I use it for the fufu because many Africans actually buy that brand for that reason, because it tastes a bit close to what we have back home. But you can also make fufu in quotations with rice, make it very mushy, and make it into that ball. You can make it with sorghum flour. So there's just variation, but it's just I'm comfortable calling it fufu because of, at the end of the day, it's just the the look of it. It's
Right.
just, just this mashed potato looking thing. If a kid would, if a kid was where to describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we just had a comment online that says it's called pap in South Africa.
Pap. Okay, there you go. But guess what? You see that pap? The pap in Sierra Leone is something different, though. Pap in Sierra Leone pap in Sierra Leone is porridge.
Okay.
It's just that. It's porridge. Yeah, very interesting.
Oh, it's just so interesting to hear about how something that's kind of similar is just a little bit different, no matter where you go throughout the whole continent. So
yeah. And I have to, it's interesting also because this fufu is popular on the continent, but corn is not an African crop. Africans, we grew, I think it came with colonialists. Africans, we do, that's another thing that we grow in my context too, corn. So we grow corn and we process it all the way till the flour. And we make the fufu with it. We also make juice with corn. So we have corn juice that we make. Yes. And then we also make alcohol as a popular alcohol that we make. They have that same alcohol in other parts of Africa. I know for sure they also have it in Uganda where they drink it with stick. Like a bunch of people sit down and they have all these sticks in this one big bowl in Uganda. In other parts of Africa, they also do that. So, but corn is not an African crop, but we use it now more so than a lot of other, let's say, carbohydrate. Yeah.
And what would you use corn juice for?
Drink it.
You just drink it?
Yeah, and we put sugar in it. But then if after a week, it becomes alcohol. It gets fermented. It becomes alcohol. So yeah, we make juice with it. But then there's another. Just not the juice. Actually, we use it with sorghum too. Sorghum is also part of the ingredient for the juice, and rice. So there are layers to this. I've been wanting to make that juice here, but I can't get my hands on the ingredients that I need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again for sharing this dish with us. And it was just wonderful to get to know you a little bit better and get to know a lot about your cultural heritage and growing up and what that was like. So thank you so much for being willing to share that with us.
Sure.
And, and then if you want to say any last party thing, here we go. Can you talk about African yam versus yam in the USA? That question just came in.
Oh yeah, that. Yeah. So the African yam is a starchy, it's part of the carbohydrate family. It's a little starchy, but it's not, it's great, it's tasty. And a lot of people, and I think it's indigenous to the continent. We grow that too in my place. You can grow it as tall as maybe, I would say maybe, I'm not sure how to describe it, but it can go as quite tall. And in the United States, so that's one of the things when I came here, I hear yams. And then I was giving yams. I'm like, this is not yam. Because it tastes, in the United States, yam is sweet potatoes.
Yes.
And and then when people make it, they put a lot of sugar in it.
A lot, yes.
Like a whole bag of sugar, like small bag of sugar. So that's the difference. But the yam that we have, it's quite healthy for you too. Well, if you don't eat too much of it. And it's also, if you were to peel it, because you peel it before, you cannot eat it with the skin. You peel it, the skin. A fun fact, when I used to play with it when I was a kid, and it gives me rash. Because it then touches. So you don't want to, when you peel it off, you actually, when you go to the so-called ethnic, stores, you find them there. I found some in African store, of course, and I found it in Mexican stores. Sometimes they have them there.
Huh.
Yeah.
And so it looks nothing like a sweet potato?
No, it's not. It's big. It's very big. It can go as tall, maybe as 3 inches or 8. Actually, maybe longer than that. Yeah. It grows. It's pretty big. It can go as tall as a little baby. Yeah.
Wow, that is big.
Yeah. And it could be very big too, like massive. we have a good harvest.
Yeah, I never would have guessed that. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that's all the questions that came through. So again, just thank you so much for your willingness to share with us today. And again, you can always check out the recipe on the program that's listed on the Fuller.edu watch page. If you want to try to cook it yourself at home, then we hope you will.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Thank you so much for having me, and enjoy, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.